Okay, welcome to our newest edition of our BDPA Tech and Career Talks. I am Devin Jenkins, our National BDPA Tech and Career Talk leader. I work at GE Healthcare in Milwaukee, Wisconsin as a staff technical product manager in our supply chain analytics space. I've been leading the talks here for about 3 years now and excited to have you here. Just a little bit of background on BDPA and the Tech and Career Talks. So BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates, in case you're unfamiliar. I've been around since 1975 as a forum for African Americans in the IT field to continue to develop their skills and have a network of individuals to work with and be connected to as we advance in our careers in the tech industry. And we also serve as a forum for youth, especially middle and high school students, to learn computer programming skills and prepare the next generation, if you will, of the technology talent pipeline. So we're attacking this thing from all angles, but our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So we're excited to have you here. The BDPA Tech and Career Talks take place on the second and fourth Friday of each month. We have a range of speakers and topics. I see some former speakers in the audience today. We've talked about everything from data and cloud to brain-machine interaction to dealing with emotional awkwardness in the workspace. So we cover quite the range here at BDPA. So that's about the most talking I'm going to do today. I'm going to get out of the way. We have some amazing Scrum Masters with us today from Northwestern Mutual, Frank and Noella, who I will let introduce themselves in their own way to you, and I'll let you all take it from here.
All right. Thank you so much, Devin. Let me go ahead and pull up. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Noella. I am a Scrum Master here at Northwestern Mutual. The purpose for this talk today, guys, is to walk you guys through where we are at NL with our Agile and Scrum delivery with data teams. But before we get started, we are Scrum Masters. We love icebreakers. It is Friday. Use the chat, drop an emoji of how you are feeling about today. I'll give you guys a moment to tell us how you're feeling. It's Friday, it's almost the weekend. How's it going? All right. Okay, good. Okay, so the goal for today, the goal is to share with you guys where we are in our Agile journey here at Northwestern Mutual. Data is the backbone for a lot of our products here at NM and a big driver to the value across the enterprise. With product delivery, the teams are accountable for managing, but also driving delivery of value to the business and making sure that is done in a consistent and measurable way. Before I dive in to talk about who I am and Frank also to introduce himself to you guys, I would like to go through the agenda of which we'll be presenting today. We'll start off with who is NM, who are we? We'll walk through what is Agile, what is Scrum, if you are new to this terminology. Agile and at NM, where are we in our Agile journey? We'll have a very high level discussion around data products. What work are our teams currently working on? What makes this challenging and unique? How we've adapted to this concept, and we'll end with some career opportunities that we are offering here at Northwestern Mutual. The goal for this is we are hiring. We're open and we'll love to have you guys join us at NM. As a reminder, we will not dive per se so much into our roles as Scrum Masters, but more of where our teams are with the product delivery, right? We're working with data teams. So as a reminder, use the chat if you have any questions, or we'll take a pause throughout this presentation to answer any questions you might have. And yes, let's get right into it. Who am I? My name is Noella. I am originally from Cameroon. I've been in the United States for 20 plus years. I have a bachelor's in science from Kennesaw State University. How did I find myself in the IT space? Because my bachelor is actually in criminal justice and my minor is in legal studies. The goal was to go to law school after graduating, but I was introduced to the project management space. I fell in love with everything Agile. I am currently enrolled here at NM. I started my IT career with a company called Sarah Cannon as a junior Scrum Master. I have worked with companies such as Tech Data, Walmart. I've been in this space for about 5 years now, working currently with Northwestern Mutual with one of our core data platform teams. We'll dive more into that and the work we do later on throughout this presentation. What do I like to do? Outside of work and loving everything Agile, I love to eat. I love to try out new brunch spots. So send them my way. If you are on LinkedIn, I would love to try any new spots. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Frank, to introduce himself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Frank Nyantichi. Can you guys hear me clearly? Maybe I could use the headset.
We can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. I was born in Ghana, born and raised in Ghana. I lived, well, then moved to the UK, did high school in the UK, went back to Ghana for international baccalaureate, which is like pre-college, moved here back in 2008, did my undergrad in business, have my MBA from school here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, focus more towards project management. And then after that, I started my career at a company called Airgas. They manufacture everything gas as a project coordinator. So the initial intention was to go into project management. And then along the way, I got connected with some Agile practitioners here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which really drew me to the mindset of how projects are run from ideation to the end result of delivering to the customer. And then this is what led to my transition to a Scrum Master role. I've worked in different industries from manufacturing to even transitioning into Northwestern Mutual. Then I initially as a consultant, and I went to work for an ad agency in Chicago. And I recently came back as a senior Scrum Master within the data space. Outside of work, we have a very energetic 4-year-old, keyword energetic. And then we also are expecting a baby girl later on this summer. Outside of work and family, my wife and I run a makeshift smoothie business as well. So you can, outside of this summer, typically you will find us in some local farmers markets or festivals in the Milwaukee area. That's a little bit about myself. So in this discussion, we're going to take you guys through like a loop of ourselves digging into the company, the organization we're working, and then like how these interact with our skill sets as well as Scrum Masters. So we want to go on to the next slide, talk a little bit about Northwestern Mutual. Northwestern Mutual has been in existence for over 160 years, which that's a lot. Helping businesses and families achieve financial security through life insurance and other wealth management products. We empower our clients to live their dreams today on a day-to-day basis, as well as thinking about tomorrow and the future through our unique approach to financial planning. This is all powered by our workforce of over 6,500 employees, I think of which half of that work in IT, working and creating products that enhances our customers' experience in their lives. And we can go on to the next slide, Noella. And when we think about that and like work with our clients, the process of creating these personalized digital experiences and providing industry-leading products is all backed by data. Data to us is huge, and it's a huge driver in the way that we deliver value across the enterprise using innovative, secure, and reliable products. I want to pass it on to Noella to walk you through our mindset around Agile and Scrum and how this mindset and frameworks are used within our area or our space in the data space.
Hey, thanks, Frank. Before I dive in here, I want to take a second to use the chat again. Let us know what space are you currently in? Are you a student? Have you heard of the term Agile before? Have you heard about Scrum? Where are you guys in your journey, in the whole Agile journey? Let's see what we have. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We're trying to make this conversational, try to involve you guys so we can make sure we are answering the right, okay? Leveraging agile methodology for day-to-day. Nice. PMP was
Okay.
learning. Okay. Good, good.
Wow.
Nice.
Michelle, you should turn your camera and then join this
I
conversation.
know, we need you. We need you. All right, so let me dive right in here. Okay, so what is Agile? Agile is a methodology used for delivering products, right? Instead of the traditional waterfall approach of a big bang lunch, Agile teams, they focus on delivering work in small but very consumable increments, right? Here at Northwestern Mutual, we do leverage two of the Agile frameworks, Scrum and SAFe. Just a little bit about Scrum. Scrum is a framework for developing and sustaining complex products. Scrum is based on an evidence and experimental approach, right? It has three pillars really, and we hold those really dear to heart here at Northwestern Mutuals, which is transparency, adaptation, and inspection. When you think of transparency, what that means is basically we present the fact as it is to our end users, our stakeholders. It could be bad, it could be good, but it's the whole idea of being transparent throughout the whole process. In the inspection phase, Scrum includes inspecting the product, the process, and the people for their betterment, right? And when you think of adaptation, we are adapting to the feedback that we receive from the inspection phase. So adjustments could be done. The whole idea behind this is to drive continuous improvement on all facets of the process and products. And we embrace that as a data out here at Northwestern Mutual. So we are really big on visuals. So I know I said a lot, but the whole idea of waterfall versus agile, right? When it comes to this picture right here, the first one you see with agile, we're delivering some kind of value even at the starting stage of our process. We work in something called sprints. So value is delivered early at the end of the sprint. You might ask, hey, you're not delivering the entire product. What is the goal? The goal behind that is to further improve in each increment, each sprint, based on feedback we receive through our sprint demos. The end result is to result in a better, lovable, and usable product for our end users. Compared to the traditional waterfall approach, waiting for the end of the project to deliver the goods or whatever is being built or whatever is being worked on to the end users. I mentioned earlier that at Northwestern Mutual, we are also leveraging another framework known as SAFe. What is SAFe? At Northwestern Mutual, we go through something called PI planning. PI planning, we have multiple teams working on this data project. How do we align to make sure that we are delivering value, right? We go through PI planning where we plan work for 6 months. You have several teams working on this project. How do we align? Our job here as Scrum Masters is not only facilitating this PI process, right? But also ensuring through the scrums that dependencies are being tracked, that risk and impediments are being raised at the program level for that whole idea of transparency to our end users and stakeholders. So we have talked, that's a really, I would say is, if I want to talk agile, I can go all day, every day. We can keep going, right? But I want to take a pause here before we dive next to Frank to talk about the product we're working on. Are there any questions you might have about where we are in our agile journey at Northwestern Mutual, or what our day-to-day looks like as Scrum Masters? Like, what do you guys do all day? Yeah. You can ask those questions as well.
And the purpose of this gap also is to better align with the audience, because we were not sure who the audience are and like what is the level of expertise or experience. Do we want this to be a Scrum 101, or like do we want to dig into like some of our experience as well? So please use this time if you have any questions of what you're facing, then we can delve deep a little bit inside of What? Let's dig. I like that, Danny. Yeah. Any questions that you guys have? Does this material, is that enough, or are you overwhelmed with some of what we shared? Give it a couple of minutes here.
No questions? Silence? Okay, I guess everyone knows everything about Agile and Scrum. We can move on,
This is
right?
perfect audience right here.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, Frank, but hey, let's move on. Frank, I'll hand it over to you to talk about
Yes.
the data
So
part.
this is more concentrating around our space, right? What are we doing? What is data products? For me, coming into this environment, to tell you the truth, was a little bit challenging because um, I had experiences in other areas where there was like a tangible product, and per se, coming to this space was a little bit different. And within our space, what I have learned is that we use data at scale to drive value. A data product for us generally refers to the grouping of data sets related to a specific journalable topic. So let us take a step back, because it's like, what does that mean? What is a journalable topic? Let's take an example of a customer profile or a client profile for somebody at Northwestern, or a customer of ours at Northwestern Mutual, or even yourself. You remember at times when you go to the mall and like they're asking you, or you have a profile with a company, they ask you all these details about yourself. This is all data that is captured, and all that data that we're able to capture from how a customer relates or engages with Northwestern Mutual is all gathered. And then we leverage it to bring more products, investments, risk to that person as recommendations or products to that person. All these things are consolidated into the identity or into that one identity of the customer profile. So when you think about the idea of like a journalable data set, think about customer profile as an example. Yep, as an example. We can go on to the next slide. I want to dig into like, in terms of, when I was creating this slide, it's interesting because I was like, now I have a better or a different level of respect for all the architectural diagrams that I've seen, because it's like me trying to put all of this into like images was, so please bear with me, this is not the best diagram out there. But more to the nuance of what we're doing, we're building a data platform that allows users to quickly access data through a governance layer. In other words, we're more aggregating all the data, like back to the previous slide, customer profile for analytical and operational use that our data scientists or analysts or even business intelligence, all these decisions can be backed by the data that we've accumulated from our clients. And we use this to activate other business initiatives as well. We can go on to the next slide. I think another way of, so this is more, I had to create the other architecture diagram. This is me breaking it down for myself to better understand it. Hopefully this is also simpler for you. Is of viewing this is like viewing from a data pipeline perspective is where we're ingesting the data from our data creators, which is all gathered from our customer profiles. The platform provides a secure storage where there are some transformations that happen. And then this is where we, after the transformations have happened, which is that all the different products or information that goes into the customer identity has been created to build an end usage, which you can see whether it's in analytics or in data usage for machine learning purposes. Cool. We can go to the next slide. So this is where it gets interesting, because when I came into the space, I mentioned like not truly understanding like how data, because for me, this was a little bit abstract. And this is the compelling nature of the space as well, because I noticed that we're not like building a website where people can access and then you see it and like you can experience it, like everybody in the day-to-day from all backgrounds can experience it. We're actually building a technical product with technical customers, which makes sense. For me, it was very abstract because I kept asking myself, like, are we building a platform? Is this like a data platform? What does this mean? What does it mean for a Scrum Master? Because I see our role, and when you look in the middle of this image, another enterprise data is where we are captured. We're not the data creators, nor are we the end users that use the information that has been transformed for like strategic data use. We're in the middle. Some of the challenges that we run into on a day-to-day is like, how do you manage dependencies within different teams? Because we're building a platform, but this is not just one team. I think recapping to what Noella said earlier on, when you think about safe and running a train with multiple Scrum teams building one product or platform, at times we're reliant on something, a piece or functionality that somebody has built for us to be able to access and use. There's a lot of negotiation that goes in there. Also think about it as like even managing, how do you manage dependencies at scale, both with at times with external vendors, understanding the work ourselves. So as a Scrum Master who does not have a technical background, it was imperative that I needed to understand what we're doing to at least to an extent where I could speak to others, whether it's end users, in a compelling way to understand what to expect from our teams. Coordinating and what to expect in the infrastructure and what is going to be delivered. These are some of the dependencies or some of the issues that were unique within our space. I want to pass it on to Noella to talk a little bit around like the pillars that have guided us in adapting. This portion though is going to be a little bit more I want us to have a conversation around it with yourselves as well. So please use the chat section and like how are we doing things differently? Because the audience is so wide, it's difficult to speak to something specific, but we want to leverage the chat area for that. So Noella, if you want to kick us off about leveraging the 4 Agile values and how we work with some of the challenges that we faced, and yes.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Thanks for sharing all of that about the product. So yes, how do we adapt to change here at Northwestern Mutual? The whole goal is to continue to grow on our agile mindset. We embrace that dearly as a data org, and we follow the 4 agile values. If you've heard about Agile, you've heard about Scrum, you know of the values, right? The whole idea of individuals and interaction over the processes and tools, a working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. That is key and that is big because we are constantly responding to changes over following this set plan. We are focused on the business value and the outcome which we are focused on the business value, which is the what over the technology, which is the how, right? Continuous improvement at all levels, whether it is at a team level, a program level, enterprise level, we are continuously growing as an organization. But yeah.
Let me jump in here. I want to add a little bit of color to that. So for especially, again, this is like a personal challenge though, not being technical, however, during the work, continuously learning to be able to work better and create more trust with the teams. I recognize that having the ability to ask the right questions has helped to drive value. Like asking people, what are we building? What is the current value of this functionality? What is the unrealized value of this? What does that look like for time to market for our end user? Because all of these things are value. And then you think about it, it was like, what are the metrics that define this functionality that we're providing back? So I just wanted to hit on like, when we're thinking about adding for especially like the value that we bring to our teams as well. So go ahead, Noella.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said, Frank. And I think also here at NM and my team's Frank's team as well, the biggest key is what value are we delivering, right? We have switched, Frank, you can say with our spring demos, with our teams where they were just typically demos, right? But now we are showing because we have those demos where we have technical folks join, but we have some non-technical folks joining those demos as well. Being really specific on what value we are delivering at each increment, at the end of each sprint, what value are we bringing to the business? So that is the key.
Yeah, for sure. That's spot on. So we added this deck. This is personal one of mine because it's always important to always have something to look back on. When I think about continuous improvement, Metrics is, especially being in a data space, it's like you're in a data space, but you don't use data to track what you're doing. We leverage metrics to an extent, because also metrics can also be dangerous based on how you use it, but we leverage it to an extent. And when I think about when Noella was talking about the values earlier on, thinking about transparency, having conversations with the teams during retros, hey, let us take a look back over the last sprint. What did we do? What can be changed? How can we enhance or work better in this coming sprint? Now, this is where the people versus the process comes in, because I want to have a dialogue where people feel safe to share, hey, this is not what is working. Maybe could we try to swarm? Could we create a war room that we focus mid-sprint, like mid-sprint, something that we instituted with my teams, mid-sprint, we block off half of the day and swarm. But it all comes down to planning to that. We have a conversation around where are we at? What is ideal state right now? What are the things that are blockers that are looking to creep over? Metrics has helped in understanding the flow of work, the journey of ticket, like item agent, tracking all of that, and then sitting back with the team and let us have a conversation of how could we be better in the coming sprint. At a team level, also at a portfolio level. I don't know if Noella, you want to speak to that a little bit, and connecting it back to like Scrum of Scrums and like PI planning.
Yeah, I would say definitely at a team level, I will always brag on my team. I have one of the best teams on the core side. Probably the whole
that is, if you're in the audience, you're wondering, this is like an internal joke within our teams, by the way. So anyways, go ahead.
We have one of the best teams. So I would say at a team level, right? One of the things which ties back to the whole metrics, we do something called servant leadership surveys, where they ask us as Scrum Masters, how's the Scrum Master doing? During my servant leadership survey, one thing that came out of it was a working agreement. My team did not revisit your working agreement, right? How does a team work better? It's that whole purpose of having a working agreement, having a definition of done, having a definition of ready within a team level, right? Because that will help the team be more successful. How do you know who works well with Java? How do you know who is a better expert in SQL? How do you know who is a better front-end developer? Things like that. So at a team level, I would definitely tie that to having those agreements within your team. Tying it up to the scrums of scrums is having a space where dependency risk, we go through something called PI planning, right? Yeah. We commit to all these features, we commit to all this work that we can deliver by the end of the PI. Tying it back to the bigger picture of scrums of scrums, our jobs as Scrum Masters is not only to protect our team, be a servant leader, right? But it is also to make sure that whatever we're committing to the business, we are delivering. If we do see those risks, as though that whole big picture of transparency is keeping it transparent to the end users, to our product managers, like, hey, we committed to this work, but due to unforeseen circumstances, whether there are risks or dependencies that we need to address, we do use our scrums or scrums to do that. Yes, Frank, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, do you want to go back to the previous slide? I just want to make sure that we're adhering to and giving examples, leveraging like these agile values, like responding to change. When I think about that and how we've interpreted it or we've implemented it, thinking about how we've partnered with our product teams on refinement work to anticipate any changes in the value that we're going to deliver. Because at times we're subject to changes in the market. Right? How do we react to when there's change, or maybe an end user no longer needs that functionality? So leveraging that has been a good opportunity. Also, and then it helps as a place to remove like bottlenecks in the way that we've partnered with our product and engineering teams. The better interactions that we're having with them, also gets us closer to the end user. In a very big org that we find ourselves in, at times we're not necessarily as close to the end user as we may want. So leveraging our product managers and our product team and engineer and having these conversations together helps us remove and respond better to change. That is the same with customer collaboration. I think Noella mentioned demos. So we treat it at multiple levels, at a PI planning level or at a sprint review level, but then also one thing that we've implemented is like doing it directly with the clients as well to ensure that what we're providing at the end is what their expectations are. All right. Anything else you want to add to that, Noella?
No, I think that was well said, Frank. Yes, nothing else to add.
Cool. And we can go on to, so we want to pause here. Please, flood us with your questions. I see one here. Yeah.
It's Scrum's like a program management office.
Oh,
So,
a PMO office. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Scrums of Scrums, what Scrums of Scrums is a checkpoint, right? We have those 3 times a week, Frank. When we have.
Yeah. Currently, we have it 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Scrums of Scrums 3 times a week. It's just a checkpoint to where we are with our teams. Also,
for the Scrum Masters.
For the Scrum Masters, yes.
Yeah.
But we also do have Scrums of Scrums during PI planning, which is also a checkpoint for the Scrum Masters, right? We are just basically communicating, like I mentioned, risk, any carryover work, maybe a feature might not get delivered, might not go into a particular release, communicating that with our RTE, which is our release trained engineer.
Mm-hmm.
But yes.
Does that help answer the question? Kenneth, you can put a yes in there, and then we can come back if you need some more details. We can dig into that. I think the next question also is, what are the challenges virtual non-co-located teams face during Scrum? This is great.
That's a good one.
As Scrum Masters, right, I think one of the things that we lean on heavily is our ability to read a room. So when you're in a space where a lot of the interaction happens around Zoom, where at times people don't feel confident or comfortable to turn on their cameras, or they don't feel safe, and based on past interaction or the dynamic of their teams, that is something that is a challenge that I have faced. I don't know if Noella, you.
I have.
Yeah, we go through that. So something that helped earlier on was, I think Noella mentioned the team agreement. But also I didn't want to use a team agreement as really something that a team builds up, right? To force a team to do things. But like introducing things like Friday camera day, not like Friday, like Friday. So we turn cameras on. Mm-hmm. The purpose of that is to get people comfortable around having cameras on. Mm-hmm. Also, like something that Noella and I have done is the game, we play, like Scrum Masters are big on gamification of things. The idea of like, this is an experiment that you should run with your teams actually. Get into a Zoom call, everybody tell them like, hey, this is gonna be a game, interactive session, turn your cameras on, and let us all count to 20 without crossing over each other. Every time that we cancel each other out, we have to start from zero again. Do that experiment till they get to 20, and then do it without the cameras off. The intention behind that is to get people to understand that at times we cannot have a good conversation when we're not together. And we have to be cognizant of how we speak over each other. Yeah. It creates that environment. Go ahead, Noella, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, and just something to add on to that. Here at NM, one thing I do love is our team sizes, right, Frank? Mm-hmm. I think that is huge. Our teams are small enough that that interaction, that relationship is there. But outside of that, as Scrum Masters also, we just tying it to the whole building the relationship with the team. We do other things. Myself and Frank, we have a happy hour with our team every Thursday where we just say, hey, we're not talking no data talk today. I mean, which sometimes they do still talk about your work, right? But the whole goal behind that is to build that relationship within the teams.
Yeah, going back to a couple of slides when Noella talked about people versus processes, like you have to understand that the people within your team are human beings. Also understand that with the changes in dynamic where people are working from home, there are other things that people are getting affected on, like home issues, kids, like all of these happen. So you have to think of like people as human beings and how do you relate to that? So we work daily to build rapport and trust within our teams on an individual level and then as a team level. Does that help answer that, Kenneth, on the question around challenges with virtual teams?
Okay, I do see another one. Frank, what collaboration tools work best for you in the virtual environment?
Oh man, so we use Mural as a tool here within the data space, Mural. This is not a plugin. I have no relationship with them. And what I have found is that it gives, depending on, I think irrespective of the tool, because I've used Miro in the past as well, or you like a whiteboard, that it comes down to the intention and the setup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the intention of how you want to collaborate? What is the setup? How are you setting it up? Are you using any facilitation tools? Are you gamifying the process? Like, how are you collaborating? For example, I don't know if you guys know anything about liberating structures. They have the 1, 2, 4, all. If I know that today's session with my team, we need to ideate around a solution. How do I ensure that with a space that is a little bit abstract, I facilitate it in a way that it's not just one person who has a lot of experience or expertise drives the entire conversation, because I want other people to be heard, create the space. So facilitating around that and making it in such a way that, okay, I want everybody to write on a note how they will solve this issue. I want to put them into Zoom rooms, pair them, let them discuss it, and then put them in a room of 4, have them discuss all their different ideas, and then come up and present it as a whole to each other. Like, it depends on the intention. I don't know if Noella, if you want to add a little bit more to that.
In regards to that, we also leverage, we talked a lot about dependencies, right? How do we track those? How do we make sure that commitments are getting delivered? We sleep in Jira Align. We sleep in Jira Align, we sleep in Jira. Key is the tool is the answer, right? That is our whole goal behind that. Hey, I shouldn't have to keep hunting you to find out a status of a particular feature, a particular story. Within our teams, we implement the whole idea of update your statuses in Jira, update whatever. As Scrum Masters, we work in Jira Align. We make sure that, hey, if there is a dependency, we are committing to it. We are asking our teams like, hey, when can you get this done? And putting that in so the other team that has that dependency on us can see like, hey, it will be completed in time. So apart from all the other tools, Miro, Jira Align, Jira, Slack, we have so many Slack groups. But yes.
I like, Michelle, your feedback about raising hands. That is huge. Like, if that works, something that I have 2 very dynamic teams where at times, like, what do you do when people don't interact? It's a challenge that I work with every day in a space where we're all online. And it's not, I don't know if I found an answer for that, but at times, even saying raising hands, what I found was that the more trust that is built around the team and everybody feeling safe and feeling that they will be heard, the more likely they will even raise their hand. Or else there's a lot of silence. And then I go into my 4 to 8 second rule of like, let us all live in silence and see what happens. Somebody's going to speak up. I want to go up through the questions there. Thank you. Also, thank you guys for all the questions. This is huge. Okay, I'm not. There is, please, if I'm butchering this, I apologize. Garita, I am seeking 101 insights. Thanks for hosting. So this is great because we did leave on the tail end like some resources that we've used in the past, like go to scrum.org or scrumalliance.org if you want to learn about scaling Scrum. There are a lot of, those are the 2 that I've leveraged the most. You will be able to find some resources online on YouTube that I follow as well. If you want to connect over LinkedIn, we can share some of those resources with you as well. Noella, I'm going to pass this on to you. Did the pandemic and resulting of continuing remote work cause any seismic shifts in Agile?
I wouldn't say so. I have always worked remotely, so a lot of times when people bring up the whole idea of like, oh, hey, did the whole pandemic cause any shift? No, because a lot of Agile teams that I've worked with in the past, whether it was with my past with Tech Data or Walmart, most of our teams were offshore or even distributed, not just co-located. Here at Northwestern Mutual, my teams are co-located. But I do not think it has caused a shift. I don't know if you want to add anything different.
For me, to a certain extent, like the tools that I leverage, the games that we set up, the facilitation techniques have to be adapted to Zoom or like online collaboration, right? Um, Even when I think about what does sizing look like, if you're in person, you can take out like the box of cards with like the numbers on it. That does not work anymore. So you have to go and find an online tool that you can leverage for that. Um, Even the way that we relate with people changed a little bit for me because I recognize that there are other things that are going on outside of somebody sitting in the office space where they're here. When you're in an office space, you're in here for 8 hours. Yeah, you're just going to like you're able to concentrate more, whereas when you're at home things are a little bit dynamic, so I have to stay fluid in the way that we even like run some of our ceremonies. Like it's understand, and this is where for me it's like there's Scrum and like a lot of people are heavy on like this is it, but as things change, I'm not saying walk away from everything, but I'm also cognizant that there are other things that are in play. For even within an org, there are changes that are happening in our org. We have to adjust a little bit in how we run our ceremonies to match that. So to an extent, things have changed, but we've adapted because that's as as people, we have to be able to change with changing trends and like to be able to adjust without the team feeling as much of the brunt of it. What questions did I miss here? What do you do at the end of the sprint if you have not achieved your goal?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
So, I mean, right, the whole idea is being transparent, right? Like I mentioned, we do have our scrums of scrums 3 times a week. During that point, we're checking in with our RTE to keep that transparency going on. But once you get to the end of the sprint and you haven't accomplished your goal, it's basically calling that out. During our demos, we have, of course, as Scrum Masters, we go through the sprint goals. We say what features associated to it and if the goal was met or not, right? The goal is to be transparent, and we have a section for what's next. If you did not make your goal for that sprint, we put it in that section like, hey, this is what's next. This goal will carry over to the next sprint, and this is how we plan on handling that to deliver this feature in time. If we see any risk based off, we went to PI planning and we put the stories in different sprints. If we see any risk there, we call that out as Scrum Master too. Keep in mind, the whole idea is to be transparent, not only with your team, but also with the product team.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit to that. I want to understand what happened. For me personally, why did we not meet our goal? Because that will determine some of the conversation. So I, as a Scrum Master, I sit back at the end of every sprint. This is what led to one of my teams actually doing the mid-sprint touch base of like swarming in the middle of the day for a few hours, just because we want to get a feeling of, hey, where are we truly at? I don't want, hey, I think we're going to do it. Like, let us back it up with data. Where are we at? Item agent really helps with this as well. Like, what is the rate at which we're converting on some of these? Where are we at? What happened? Was it a blocker? Was it because we were waiting on somebody? Like, let us understand it. Or was it a skill set? Did we not have enough time? Like, what is the cause? And then how during our retro, so if you're on here, you're new, retro is an opportunity for the team to come together and discuss like how the sprint went. Let us have a conversation about what we can do or institute for the next coming sprint, which is like a space and time for how long we're tracking how we deliver work. Some teams work in 2-week sprints, some teams work in 3. I've seen teams that work in a month for a sprint. Like, what could we implement so that in the coming sprints, this issue does not happen? Why is there a carryover? And leaning on to what Noella said about transparency, like this is where it's important, right? Let us just be candid about it. It's not about pointing fingers. This is where the prime directive sets up the room for that. It's not about pointing fingers. We worked with what we had, but at this point in time, this is what happened. Metrics help as well, because at times metrics just pull in Jira. If you want to use a dashboard, we'll just pull in what was done, what was left. Like, why was this item of work, why is this going to carry over? I want to understand that, and then I want the team, not me, a Scrum Master. My role is to facilitate the engagement around how the team is going to work together better in the next coming sprint, so this does not happen again, or this does not happen. Does that help answer the question, Kenneth? Please, if you want more detail, I could definitely jump in, share more. Is there an internship pathway at Northwestern Mutual if someone is a PMP certified without experience, or if an experienced PM does not have Agile experience, they will be hired and trained? Yeah, so we can, yeah, this actually leans into some of our next carry-on slides. We do have some roles at NM that are open. We do have internship roles as well. So definitely look into that. We're looking. But these are some of the roles. I know this discussion was heavily around our role as Scrum Masters within the data field. These are some other roles that we have at Northwestern Mutual. Please, please, if you're seeking a role, yeah, if you're in this conversation and you're like, hey, I am interested either in Scrum or you're a data practitioner, these are some of the other roles. As you listen to our conversation of the transformative nature of the work that we're doing, whether it's data and analytics, we hope that you will find a fit. Please leverage, I think in the next slide, there's a bit.ly or QR code that you see on here. Click on it or take a snapshot of it. It will take you directly to our careers page. Leverage that. If you want some more details, you can reach out to Noella or myself. Interact with us. That's what we're here for. We're hoping that this conversation was engaging enough that you can reach back out to us as well.
Yeah, just to add on to that, the key with getting into this space, right, it's about connection. Build your connections on LinkedIn. Reach out to us. We're free to chat if you want to just, if you have questions of anything we covered today or any other opportunities offered here at NM, please feel free. We would love to have you with us. We are hiring. It is a fun space to be in. It's different, right? You don't have a lot of people working with data teams. So
yeah.
So.
Oh man, we have another question. I cannot promise that I will answer this fully, but I'm going to give it a shot. How does solution architecture role fit into your team space? So we work, so this has been the cadence recently. So we're leveraging PI to plan over a multiple of quarters into a year based on the products that solution architects work with our products to understand what the needs of our clients are and create a solution around it. However, once the solution architects have a design, we bring them closer to the dev teams to create a rapport or feedback loop between the current state and the ideas within the solution design. So that there isn't a gap, because we notice that at times there could be a feedback loop or a gap if the solution design does not understand what the current state is, and maybe the implementation may not necessarily fit, or the current state may not be in a place where we can take on that solution design. I hope that helped answer that. So we're constantly trying to get solution design or architecture and the engineering teams to collaborate on that design and like negotiate around that before the team takes on the work. Okay. Ooh, this has been really good. I love the questions.
I love the interaction. The questions.
Love seeing the types of roles that come together to build data teams at NM. It's not just one person who has all the skills for data. That is spot on, Annie, like legit. Which role at your organization corresponds to QA? Quality assurance. This is interesting. I don't know if I have an exact answer, especially within our space. Noella, if you want to give it I have some thoughts, but I want to hear from you as well.
I don't know per se within our space, right? But yeah.
So I can jump in here.
Because
we're building our QA team currently. We in the current setup is to have the platform engineers, and then we have a team that we call features engineers, which the purpose of this, the initial purpose is to work closer with the clients to onboard and like help build instruments or more functionality onto the platform that the core teams or the platform engineers have built. In the current state, they are helping with a lot of the QA to better understand whether the platform that has been built is scalable, is manageable, like reducing our tech debt in that area. However, we are building our QA teams to embed it into the engineering teams as well. That has been a little bit slower, just with the dynamic of how everything's going, and workforce is a little bit difficult to come by. But that is something that we're working on. The intention within our area is to build that QA into the teams, and then have the QAs will also ladder into a QA section where they build like, what does our testing protocol look like? What does all that look like? Whilst individuals are also embedded into the teams. Cool. I hope I answered that, Carissa. Sorry, I'm just going through and making sure that, but please, anyone, Mark, you're in the space. I think Sean, you're in the space as well. If we're missing anything, you can jump in. If I am not mistaken, the two of you are pro-safe. Can you share why you think some people are against safe and are not fully committed to its practices? I find that many pick and choose the practices that suit them. Oh man, okay. You know,
let me jump in there.
Yeah.
Just to say, right?
I'm like making
so
sure.
I would say, like for us, like I mentioned, we do leverage safe, but we also do Scrum, right? But it's all about the organization and what works for you guys, right? The whole idea is securing a buy-in that will work for your organization. If you, like we mentioned, we have multiple teams working on this platform. How do we get the teams to connect to make sure that dependencies are being tracked? Safe works for us to go through that whole idea of PI planning, and leveraging like, hey, these are the dependencies, this is what we're working on, and this is how we'll deliver, right? So yes, securing the buy-in, what works for your organization. But yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Danny, like this is as soon as I saw that question, I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily an either or. I think it's the purpose and the intention of like the organization of what works. Do Scrum Masters at times, even like Agile practitioners, lean to one process, whether it's less or safe or safer? There's so, right? Kanban, we leverage Kanban for some of our teams, but they also fit into our safe process, right? It's really figuring out what works for the organization. At times, I don't lean either way because my mindset is to be there for my team.
How do we deliver value?
Yes, and not necessarily all the other things that are going on. Do I think one is better than the other? I think they all have different roles to play. I think they all have different tools that can help. At the end of the day, is value being delivered? Okay. Are the end users excited when you deploy into into production, in a production environment that they can access? I was having a conversation with one of our developers. He talks about in his previous experience being able to deliver to an end user for her to come on a call and be crying because we saved her 2 to 3 hours. Like that is more important to me than which framework is being leveraged, because that's what, like, that is my goal. I hope that answers that. I'm not, yeah.
No, we're coming close to that. I just saw Devin popped up. It's like,
yeah, Devin's like, we
keep talking, don't talk the entire day.
Yes.
So by all means, I don't want to stifle the conversation, but I do want to be respectful of people's time. So if you all want to stay on longer, by all means, be my guest. I will not stop you. But I do want to officially end the call for those who do need to hop off. So before we leave, first, thank you, Frank and Noella. This has been an amazing discussion. Love the engagement. I think we've kind of pretty much had an active chat the whole time. So thanks to you both for sharing today. Thanks for not panicking, Frank. I think it worked out in your favor. I want to share a few links with you all before you leave. First and foremost, I must encourage you to go to our website, bdpa.org. Check out what we have coming up in August with our national conference. We'll be in Atlanta, down in Noella's neck of the woods. So we'll be in Atlanta August 18th through 20th for our national BDPA conference. We will be hybrid this year. So we'll be back in person, but there'll also be virtual components as well. So that link is there in the chat. Then also want to send you the web page for our Tech and Career Talks. So the recording of this session, along with our previous Tech and Career Talks, will all be on that website. It's bdpa.org/Tech and Career Talks. So this will be on our YouTube channel as well as that web page, so you can find this talk as well as our previous talks that we've had. So I saw Mark shared a few links earlier in the chat. One link specifically to the Northwestern Mutual Careers page. So definitely check that out. Mark, if you have it handy, feel free to drop it again just so people can see it right away. And also, Mark has offered himself as a resource for those who may be interested in exploring potential career opportunities at Northwestern Mutual. So his email is there in the chat. So leverage Mark, reach out to Frank, Noella. I know Frank is on LinkedIn, so take advantage of the resources we have here today. But thank you all for joining. It's been great. We'll see you again in a few more weeks for our next edition of our Tech and Career Talks. I'm going to stop the recording. Frank and Noella, if you all want to stay on and continue being celebrities, by all means, feel free.
I mean, we can stay on for a couple of minutes, but if you decide to stay on, you have to turn your camera on so that we can see who we're engaging with.
Yeah,
that is like a rule.
It's Friday. We can use them.
Friday.
Friday.
But yeah, I think we can stay on for like 5-10 more minutes.
Okay.
We're gonna continue some dialogue. But thank you so much for inviting us, for the opportunity to share. Like I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you
sure.
for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Yeah, I do see a chat though. Thank you, Frank and